He is survived by 4 children, and His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has this afternoon made the announcement that the country has lost the 3rd president of the country, and this is after he passed on this morning, and this means that the country will be in mourning for quite a good period. This as the state is planning for a state funeral for the former President Mwai Kibaki, and His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta this morning said that the flags will be flying at half-mast. This as the country is mourning the death of the former president, and he is one of the leaders that most Kenyans had respect for and also affection, and this is largely attributed to the legacy he was looking forward to, that of development. And of course, many city residents who have used the Thika Road superhighway will remember him with his development record of ensuring smooth traffic flow in that part of the capital. And we will also remember the late former President Mwai Kibaki as one who has been at the fore to fight for democracy, and he took power in 2002 to 2013, and this is after he took power from his predecessor, the late Arap Moi. Daniel Arap Moi passed on in the year 2020, and before Daniel Arap Moi we had Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, and many Kenyans will hardly forget the steps they have taken to where the country is today. And in a speech at the afternoon, when he was announcing the death of the former President Mwai Kibaki, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta said, and I quote him, "We remember the values by which he lived, the ideals he embraced, his dignity and diligence, his candor and concern for well-being of all Kenyans." He further described him as a brilliant debater and an honest friend to many, and his contributions as Minister of Finance and Vice President saw Kenya's economy grow steadily, fueled by commodities boom as well as fiscal and monetary policies that were backbone of his economic policy. The latter will also be remembered for putting a legacy on uniting the country and working with other political leaders in ensuring that the country is moving to prosperity. We'll remember what took place during the electioneering years whenever he was taking part in the elections period, and we would say he was at the fore to ensure the country attains democracy at all levels. He has worked with various political leaders, including the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga. He has also worked with the Wiper party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, and he has also worked with His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. He handed over power to President Uhuru Kenyatta, and it was a smooth transition that has seen many Kenyans on the social media mourning him as a good leader who was focused in ensuring the country is united and putting his track record on development goals. And this afternoon we'll be bringing you more pictures of his memory right as he was the sitting president then, and even right now we'll be able to bring you analysts who will be talking more of his legacy and what the country will be thinking about him. And when we go to social media, what are Kenyans saying about the late former President Mwai Kibaki. Many of them are describing the former president as one that was a peacemaker. He would ensure that the country is peaceful and also conduct peaceful elections. And if quickly we could go to our Twitter handles, and Thomas Kiragu, you're saying, I remember the late former president as one who focused on bringing the youth together. Well, right now we are bringing you one of the memories that we are having here on KBC Channel 1. His last Madaraka Day, that was in 2007. Let's listen in.
You know, we forgot to check even the proposals and the release voters card. I forgot to check, but I'm sure you checked from the release.
You came to
Can we have the nomination paper?
Okay.
So that you can start being signed while it is
all here. You want first one, that one. Have it there.
You look at it. Then now I can have the ID card.
ID. You get you an ID.
This one.
This one is the one that you want.
ID.
You have it there.
And voter's card.
Voter's card. Jamhuri of the Republic of Kenya. Hiyo moja.
Letter, party nominating letter.
Proposer and second.
Oh, yeah, proposer. Proposer. Second letter.
Certificate out.
These are the proposals.
Yeah. You want a certificate?
The certificate.
Certificate.
The code of conduct.
Code of conduct certificate which we signed.
If you don't have, we have, you'll send it.
I have it, I'll bring it, and I signed it. Yes. And, yeah. I give you this.
The code of conduct is not...
No, it's not here. It is with...
it's going to come.
Yeah, we get it. Just now.
And the 50,000 shillings, that I should have started with that.
Yeah. You have to sign. Enough shilingi. Nayo shilingi letu. Haya.
Umetupangia kwa kiprovi. Very good. Very good. Nairobi, check it. Lete yote tupeane angaliwe.
You take all these then?
Yes, sir.
They have been written Nairobi in so they
show that we are equal according to their basis.
They can also check. These ones they are retaining.
Yeah.
Check it.
After that.
Then after giving them that, you check this yourself.
But you give us back the...
You return the IDs and the voters' cards.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. I know you are not violent.
No, we are not.
No, you. Some of your people are making utterances which are very violent. So we are giving you this as a code of conduct.
Yes.
And one for you. One for you and one for you.
Thank you.
So that it may guide you. We are also giving you another present. This one is for your party, the candidates.
Yes.
It's a little booklet I wrote some time back for your candidates.
Have they paid?
They're bringing, you see, the money is coming.
That is the late former president Mwai Kibaki issuing receiving his presidential certificate from the former ACK chairperson, the late Samuel Kivitu. And right now we will be bringing you more memories of the late having his Madaraka Day celebration. That was the last Madaraka Day celebration he held in 2007. And also we'll be bringing you a clip where he was naming his cabinet in 2008 But before we get there, let's go to the Twitter handles at KBC Channel 1. And Gabriel Oguda is saying, throwback to the day in 2009 when President Mwai Kibaki called a press conference at State House and talked of development records in ensuring that each and every leader does not go astray. And we'll remember that after him getting his presidential certificate, he got into office on December 30th, 2022, and was sworn in as the president, as the third president of Kenya. And when came April 2013, he was able to leave office. And right now, the clip for him naming the cabinet is ready. Let's listen in.
Somebody going to say a prayer? Good. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow Kenyans, I know that you have all been anxious to see the conclusion of the consultations on the formation of the new coalition government. I am therefore pleased to announce that following extensive consultations within the coalition and taking into consideration the current challenges facing the country, as well as the need to ensure regional balance in the leadership of this country, I am today announcing the cabinet of the Grand Coalition Government. Fellow Kenyans, the outcome of the general elections brought to the fore unprecedented political challenges. The situation has required statesmanship and sacrifices for the sake of the national peace and unity. The enactment of the National Accord and Reconciliation Act and the agreement on the cabinet underscores the commitment of our nation's leadership to put the collective interest of the country and our people above everything else. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Raila Odinga, Prime Minister Designate, and all the political leaders throughout the country for upholding the spirit of dialogue which enabled us to unlock the political deadlock. I also commend the religious leadership, trade unions, human and professional bodies in our country that have supported dialogue and reconciliation to ensure that a peaceful settlement is concluded within the shortest time possible. Furthermore, I thank the mediators led by His Excellency Kofi Annan, as well as friendly countries which have supported and encouraged us to overcome the political challenges we have been experiencing. Above all, I want to thank you, my fellow Kenyans, for your tolerance and patience throughout this period. I want to assure you all that I will do everything possible to ensure that our country, Kenya, is steered along the path of peace, unity, and stability. Fellow Kenyans, the multi-party politics that this country has embraced over the last 17 years has posed serious challenges to our national cohesion. But the experience we have gained over the years, and this period in particular, has enabled us to overcome the difficulties while we undertake necessary reforms to ensure that our country and people will be assured of living in a secure, cohesive, and prosperous nation. The enactment of the National Accord and Reconciliation Act and the announcement of the new cabinet today demonstrates the commitment of the political leadership to move ahead and pay more attention to addressing the challenges facing our country and people. Furthermore, it is foremost is the plight of our people, men, women, and children, evicted from their homes and farms by the recent mindless violence and hooliganism. In that regard, my government has increased security presence in the affected areas in order to prevent a recurrence of the violence and mayhem. We are also facilitating the displaced people to resettle back on their farms as we support them and the surrounding communities with farm inputs such as seeds and fertilizers. The new cabinet will prioritize resettlement of the displaced people so that they can resume normal lives and play their part in nation building. I urge cabinet members to spearhead the message of peace in all the affected areas. Another area is a need to ensure equal opportunities for all our people. In this respect, when I took over the leadership of this country, I pledged to commit more resources for the development of the arid and semi-arid areas of our country, which have in the past suffered neglect due to inadequate resources, provisions, and poor infrastructure. In the Cabinet, I am announcing today, I have therefore created a new ministry for the development of northern Kenya and other arid lands in order to focus on and address the unique challenges facing these areas. The expanded cabinet also introduces new ministries to give priority attention to areas that are critical to the transformation of our country into a newly industrialized national status. These include the Ministries of Industrialization, Planning and Vision 2030, and Nairobi Metropolitan Development. Finally, I wish to reiterate and emphasize that all Kenyans enjoy equal rights under the law. In this respect, we cannot allow or tolerate discrimination of a Kenyan in whatever form. Every citizen must enjoy the right to work and to reap the benefits of his or her labor anywhere in the country without hindrance. And therefore, the attitude, especially among some leaders, that communities should be restricted to particular areas or that some Kenyans can be perceived to be foreigners in some parts of the country is backward and unacceptable. As we welcome foreign nationals to partner with us in developing our country, so must we welcome and embrace one another as brothers and sisters. Indeed, it is through such interaction that our country and communities can tap skills that will spur development. The key to addressing the challenge of poverty is hard work to generate wealth and expand employment opportunities. So, my challenge to the new cabinet members and the entire national leadership at all levels is, let us put politics aside and get to work. Let us build a new Kenya where justice is our shield and defender, and where peace, liberty, and plenty will be found throughout our country. I now want to announce the new cabinet as follows. Office of the President, the Ministry of State for Provincial Administration and Internal Security, Minister Professor George Saitoti. Assistant Ministers, the Honorable Simon Lesirma and the Honorable Joshua Orwa Odiode. Ministry of State for Defense, Minister, the Honorable Yusuf Haji. Assistant Ministers, the Honorable David Musila and the Honorable General Retired Joseph Nkaiseri. Office of the Vice President, Vice President and Minister for Home Affairs, the Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Lorna Laboso. Ministry of State for Immigration and Registration of Persons, the Honorable Gerald Otieno Kajwang. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Francis Bayer. Ministry of State for National Heritage and Culture, Minister Honorable William Olen Timama. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Joel Onyancha Omagwa. Office of the Prime Minister, Prime Minister, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Alfred Kangwati. Ministry of State for Planning, National Development and Vision 2030, Minister Wycliffe Abetsa Oparanya. The Assistant Minister, Peter Kenneth. The Ministry of State for Public Service, the Minister, the Honorable Dalmas Anyango Otieno. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Aden Ahmed Sugo. Office of the Deputy Prime Minister and Ministry of Trade, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Trade, the Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. Assistant Minister, the Honorable James Omingo Magara. Office of the Deputy Prime Minister and Ministry of Local Government, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Local Government, the Honorable Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Robinson Jero Githai. Ministry of East African Community, Minister, the Honorable Amason Kingi Kefa. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Peter Munya. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Minister, the Honorable Moses Wetangula. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Richard Momoima Onyonka. Ministry of Finance, Minister, the Honorable Amos Kimunya. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Dr. Oburu Oginga. Ministry of Justice, National Cohesion and Constitutional Affairs, Minister, the Honorable Martha Karua. Assistant Minister, the Honorable William Cheptumo Kipkorir. Ministry of Nairobi Metropolitan Development, the Minister, the Honorable Mutula Kilonzo. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Elizabeth Ongoro Masha. Ministry of Roads, Minister, the Honorable Kipkalia Konets. Assistant Ministers, the Honorable Wilfred Machage and the Honorable Lee Kenyanjui. Ministry of Public Works, Minister, the Honorable Chris Obure. Assistant Minister, the Honorable Dixon Wadheka Wamwangi. Ministry of
The late former President Mwai Kibaki naming his cabinet back then, and he not only ensured that he had the best of the best to lead in his government, but also ensured he put the development track record in place. And this was not only written on the roads and buildings of the country, but also in the hearts of many. And right now we're crossing over to the county of Mombasa. My colleague Anburu is on standby to get the reactions following the passing on of the late former President Mwai Kibaki. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too, Irene Muchuma from Broadcasting House. It is really not a good afternoon today after we had the news of the demise of the third president of Kenya, Emilio Mwai Kibaki. And right now I'm in the streets of Mombasa County, where I'll be getting views from Kenyans just to tell me what they'll remember the late Mwai Kibaki with or for. What he did for this country is massive. And would really like to get views from Kenyans to tell us what exactly they feel about the whole issue, and maybe what they will remember him for. So I'll be joined by a few people, and let me introduce some of them so that they can tell me what they think about the demise of Mwai Kibaki, and whatever they'll be thinking, and they will remember him for, that is. Karibu sana. You can start by your names and tell us what you remember Kibaki for, now that he has passed on at the age of 90 and he was the third president of this country.
First of all, my name is Raphael Wakaya, and today I'm talking in Mombasa. Sincerely, I'm very sorry for the demise of Emilio Mwai Kibaki. I've known Kibaki from 1959 when he came out from Makerere University. And I've known Kibaki as a diplomat, a statesman, a man who is down to earth, flexible, very economical, and more so, very intellectual. And today, the nation is sad, and in Africa we are very sad, and more so internationally we are very sad for the demise of the late President Emilio Mwai Kibaki.
Maybe what will you remember him for?
Personally, I as Raphael Wakaya, I will remember Kibaki as one of the best economists in this nation we have lost today. And more so, I've known Kibaki as somebody who was very, very economical with this nation, and more so, the highways that we are now enjoying, and more so, Thika Highway, and our economy, if I remember where President Moi had left the economy, and the way Kibaki brought up the nation, that is the desire and the more so the happiness I will remember Kibaki with. He admired the nation that more children should join primary schools and secondary, and more so the expansion of the universities.
Maybe you could have someone else tell us what also they will remember Mwai Kibaki for, and maybe what he did for this country, since he has been serving this country from 2002 to 2013. So you'll start with your names and then you'll tell us unamkumbuka vipi.
Thank you very much. My name is Osumba Hesbonoyo. I'm also a resident of Mombasa. First, let me say I'm so shocked upon the realization of the passing on of His Excellency, former President Emilio Mwai Kibaki. Kibaki will be remembered for so many things. One, he's a great man. He was a great politician in this country who put this country forward before anything else. And Kibaki will be remembered more so of the great economic transformation he brought about in this country, and one being the rural electrification infrastructure. Kibaki is the only one who ensured that the connectivity reached everywhere. all the corners of this nation, and that is primary schools and everywhere. The infrastructure, I'm talking as a Luo person, and you know most of the Luos were living in opposition side of divide for so many years. And during Kibaki's regime, Kibaki ensured that this country was united, and it is in the same regime that our region realized a widespread of infrastructure development, like the roads, rural electrification, free primary education, secondary education. So Kibaki was an economist, wizard person. Development oriented, action oriented, is somebody who is leaving behind several important issues that we are shocked that Kibaki is no more again. And the peace that people are now enjoying, the handshake, was realized only from the Kibaki regime, who put this country forward na akasema ya kwamba hii country is bigger than anybody else. Onyesha ya kwamba sio president inafaa katika hii country, but everybody is of value, na akaleta Wakenya pamoja. Kwa hivyo we have lost a great man and we are very sorry, and the family, the relatives, we are sending our condolences, na tumesema pole sana kwa hii country na kwa familia. Asante sana.
Maybe I could have one last person who's going to just tell us. He used to be a very humorous person. Maybe there are those humor instances you could remember Mwai Kibaki with.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. I'm called Relax Omogi. I'm very sorry in the first place that Honorable Mwai Kibaki, as I know him, he was an energetic person, a very loving, caring person, and there are numerous investment or processes that we can say that he has developed in this country. When we talk of infrastructure, I can be very much in position to say that he was one of the presidents that introduced the standard of infrastructure in this country. When I talk of CDF, you can remember very well what he did during his tenure. He was the first president to introduce constituency development fund. That up to now is still functioning and is helping our children. Again, I can also recognize him as someone who likes jokes. You remember very well, sometimes he can say that tumbafu. So he was someone who can crack jokes, and again, doing that, he was doing it very, very deliberately and knowing what to say and where to say it and when to say it. So I can take this opportunity to send my condolences to the family, to the entire Kenya as a whole, and the entire world, that the world has lost someone who was very much dedicated to serve this nation. Thank you very much.
As you've heard from the horse's mouth, Kibaki was an enigma in infrastructure. He made sure that this country was in the right place when it comes to infrastructure. And he was also a humorous president for the years that he served this country. So we send our condolences from Mombasa County. Back to you in studio, Irene.
Good, Anne. Good to have you. Anne Boru from the county of Mombasa, engaging the residents this following the passing on of the former president of the country, Mwai Emilio Kibaki. And just as the residents have said, there was some time apart from his political life, he would create humor, and he would knew the public will get into laughter. And the picture coming right on your screen is the Lee Funeral Home pictures, and this is where we're expecting the former Prime Minister and also the Azimio presidential candidate to address the media. This following the passing on of the late former president of the country, Mwai Kibaki, and we could be expecting for him to talk positive of the former president. He worked with him at some point, and they even came together and shook hands in ensuring that they have the same goal, one of uniting the country and putting prosperity as one of the achievements for the country. And that picture would go through many minds. One where the late shook hand with the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in ensuring that we are one as a country and end tribal clashes. And it's not only the former Prime Minister who once or in several occasions applauded the late for his good work in the country, but also a section of political leaders. At some point, Siaya Senator James Orengo would describe the former president of the country, Mwai Kibaki, the third president to serve the country, as one of the best leaders the country has ever had, and he placed this on the trust that the people of Kenya have had in him and the development record that he would ensure in improving infrastructure here in the country, and also ensure good relations between Kenya and other countries who travel across the globe to ensure that leaders from other parts of the world work so well with the country, all with one goal, one of prosperity and development. Quickly on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1, Tom Mwema says Kibaki was the only president who loved the country most. He served and left the country with dignity. And he goes on and says, you may have gone, but your legacy memories live well with us. And Kabando Wakabando, one of the legislators, recognized, celebrated for his brilliance, focus, leadership, integrity. And also Governor Hilary Barchok says his leadership style was widely adored and considered by many as the best the country has ever had. And not only that, this afternoon and going forward, we're expecting several leaders to come in and say their experiences they had with the former President Mwai Kibaki while he was in office, while he was in power, when they worked together in several occasions. This hour, we're expecting the former Prime Minister, who is also the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate, Raila Odinga, to address members of the press from the Lay Funeral Home. This as the former president of the country, Mwai Kibaki, passes on at the age of 90. He has left behind 4 children, and this announcement was made this morning by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, who eulogized the late as one of the most respected leaders the country has ever had. And as we are looking forward to have a state funeral for the late, we will ensure that the country has a mourning period. And His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta also said that the flags will now fly at half-mast in respect for the late. And keep on talking to us on our social media platforms. Talk of your experiences. What are these memories that you will have of the former President Mwai Kibaki, who passed on today? And the announcement was made by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. And those of us who were able to see his development records, and many of us who have used the Thika Road superhighway, and also on education levels, where he was able to introduce free primary education, which was largely welcomed by not only city residents, but also other Kenyans in other parts of the country. Remember, education was a key problem to the country's development. And when he said he will ensure each and every child is in school, many parents felt it was a reprieve, because there was the expense of taking your child to school and also ensuring that he continues with the education to the last level. And this is where other leaders were able to pick up from and say, we're looking forward to ensuring that no child will be able to sit back and wait to go to school, but the government will ensure that will ensure that the government provides education for each and every child. And he also looked at his political life here in the country as he served the country, and many would say that he was a politician, one that was a go-getter, and he would ensure he's doing it for the good of the country. Right now, let's listen in to the speech that His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta made earlier on following the passing on of the late former President Mwai Kibaki.
It is my sorrowful duty to announce to the nation the passing on of His Excellency Emilio Mwai Kibaki, the third president. His Excellency Mwai Kibaki lived a dedicated life of service, and we salute a notable father figure in the chronicles of our nation. A leader who strove so hard and accomplished so much for this country. A nation he so deeply cherished and served with commitment and an unbending will to improve the lives of our people. As we mourn this immeasurable loss, we recall with eternal gratitude President Kibaki's patriotic journey in service to his country, which can be traced back to Kenya's fight for liberation. As a university lecturer, a legislator, member of parliament for 5 decades, a cabinet minister, vice president, official leader of the opposition, and finally as the third president of the Republic of Kenya, Emilio Mwai Kibaki was a quintessential patriot whose legacy of civic responsibility will continue to inspire generations of Kenyans long into our future. We remember the values by which he lived, the ideals he embraced, his dignity, his diligence, his candor, and concern for the well-being of all Kenyans. As a leading figure in Kenya's post-independence history, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki earned the abiding respect and affection of the people of this nation and other nations throughout the world. President Kibaki will forever be remembered as a gentleman in Kenyan politics, a brilliant debater whose eloquence, wit, and charm won the day time and time again. His contributions in the Ministry of Finance and as Vice President saw Kenya's economy grow steadily, fueled by a commodities boom, as well as fiscal and monetary policies that were the backbone of his economic philosophy. Believing that Kenya was once again ripe for a vibrant multi-democracy, President Kibaki exited from government and led the charge to keep the ruling party accountable. His contributions to the restoration of multi-party democracy as the leader of the official opposition, combined with his track record and impressive credentials, made Mwai Kibaki the natural choice for selection as the opposition consensus candidate against my own candidature in the year 2002 and the presidential elections that followed thereafter. On the 30th of December 2002, Mwai Kibaki was sworn in as the third president of the Republic of Kenya. He served as head of state and government until the 9th of April 2013. The late former president's administration conceptualized and spearheaded transformation in crucial sectors such as education through the globally lauded free primary education program, infrastructure developments in transport and energy, and increasing the availability and access to healthcare for his fellow Kenyans. In honor of this great statesman, Kenya remains committed to maintaining policies that promote economic and social empowerment, democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. The late President Kibaki championed the realization and objectives of the East African Community Common Market, of trade liberalization for the citizens of partner states of the East African Community. His inclusive spirit and conviction for economic empowerment transcended the territory of Kenya towards cross-border economic stability. The late former president's central role in shepherding Kenya into a new constitutional dispensation at the culmination of a decade-long quest is a towering legacy that immortalizes President Kibaki. We can take comfort in the inspiring legacy of ideals and examples of devotion to his country, which he bequeathed to us all, more so with our new constitutional dispensation. His dedication and love for our country undoubtedly honors Kenya, East Africa, Africa, and in the world. He leaves behind a more united and prosperous Kenya, as well as a template for servant leadership, which we must continue to nurture and improve for generations to come. And on his passing, today we once again renew our pledge in tribute to our great leader to foster. As we mourn the passing of an icon, we can rejoice in the lifelong companionship he enjoyed with his now departed wife, Her Excellency Mama Lucy Kibaki, and his extended family. Today, our sincere sympathy to his children, Judy Wanjiko, Jimmy Kibaki, David Kagi, and Tony Githinji, and to their families, and for all who mourn the passing of this great leader. As the late former president served Kenya, Africa, and the world, he also remained a deeply devoted family man, an avid golfer, and an earnest friend to many. To them we say that while Emilio Mwai Kibaki is no longer with us in body, his spirit, legacy, values, and ideals live on in each one of us and in the limitless ways that he made Kenya immeasurably better. Mwai Kibaki lives on in the hearts of millions of Kenyans, East Africans, and Africans who benefited from his leadership, admired his character, and were inspired by his example. Mwai Kibaki lives on in our fond memories of his strength of will, his charm, his wit, and his passionate love for God, for family.
Former President Uhuru Kenyatta, earlier on, as he was announcing the passing on of the late retired President of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki, he was the only surviving former president. And this afternoon, we are expecting former Prime Minister, who is also the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate, Raila Odinga, to address members of the press from the Lee Funeral Home. And we are being informed he is accompanied by Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka. Right now, my colleague Zainab Said is on standby in Westlands here in the capital, and she is engaging residents who are interested in sharing their ideas or views in regards to the passing on of the former president. Zainab, good afternoon.
Yes, Muchuma, we are live from Westlands constituency in Kitusuru ward, where we are following up the ODM nominations, but the events have been overtaken here, of course, with the country mourning the death of the former president, Mwai Kibaki. We will be joined by just a few Kenyans to express their memories of the former president, Mwai Kibaki here. I'm joined by one of the Kenyans here who had come to vote, but he'll just express his views on how he remembers the former president Mwai Kibaki. Naam, shukran sana. Habari yako?
Ningetaka kwanza ongea na huyu jamaa.
Naam, it seems like he is not ready, but there's another voter here who is ready here to talk. Habari yako?
Nzuri sana.
Shukran sana kwa kubali kuzungumza na KBC. Yes. Tuambie tu, taifa sasa hivi linaomboleza kifo cha aliyekuwa rais wa taifa hili, rais wa tatu, Rais Mwai Kibaki. Wewe unamkumbuka vipi Rais Mwai Kibaki?
Kwa majina naitwa Anthony Mwangi, na nimehudhunika kwa kusikia hayo yametokea kwa baba wa taifa, aliyekuwa baba wa taifa Mwai Kibaki. Ni kiongozi ambaye tutamkumbuka. Amekuwa akitufanyia maendeleo Kenya, na hakuna rais mwingine ambaye ametufanyia maendeleo kama yeye. Amefanya barabara zikawa, wakatuletea bodaboda. Kwa hivyo amefanya kazi mzuri sana. Vijana watamkumbuka pia, sababu ile kazi ambaye amewaachia hatutamsahau, na ndio wanafanya familia yao iweze kukula na ifanye kazi nzuri. Yeah.
Shukran. That is Mr. Mwangi, who remembers the former president as a president who ensured that Kenya had good infrastructure. We'll be talking to another Kenyan here of Westlands constituency just to know how he remembers the former president. Shukran sana kwa kubali kuzungumza na KBC. Taifa linaomboleza kifo cha aliyekuwa rais wa tatu, Rais Mwai Kibaki. Je, wewe unamkumbuka vipi Rais Mwai Kibaki?
Rais Mwai Kibaki alikuwa, mtu ambaye alikuwa in the middle, katikati ya change kubwa sana ambaye Kenya yetu imepokea ile change ya demokrasia kwa nchi yetu. Kwa hivyo mimi nakumbuka President Kibaki kwa sababu ameleta watu wengi sana pamoja kutoka mataifa mengi sana, because alikuwa president ya nchi yetu wakati Kenya ilikuwa inahitaji development and stimulus packages kutoka abroad, na vile development kwa slums. So I remember him very fondly leo, na niko na huzuni kusikia kifo cha president. Na obviously from my family and my community, the Mwindi community in our country, tunasema poleni sana kwa nchi yote, kwa familia ya mzee, na tulinde nchi na ile vision baba yetu alikuwa naye, na ile vision ilikuwa ya development. Vile tunawajua alikuwa mbele kwa nia za development kwa nchi yetu.
Ni taifa linaelekea katika uchaguzi. Je, ujumbe wako tu kwa viongozi wengine wa kisiasa ambao wanapania kuwa marais? Je, ujumbe wako ni vipi kuiga mfano wa aliyekuwa Rais Mwai Kibaki?
Well, unajua hii swali ni difficult kidogo because kwa siku hizi kila mtu anaangalia kiti chake. Okay, ni maneno ya interest. Kama umeona saa hizi mbunge cha Westlands Tim Wanyonyi amepatiwa direct ticket kusimama MP, na bado ilitangazwa jana ambaye watu 7 watasimama, which means total confusion, lack of transparency, lakini bado tuko na hope na chama. So vile ningetaka kusema we must learn vile Kibaki alilinda sisi, alilinda na transparency na alilinda na accountability, na nominations pia okay inakuanga up na juu na chini, lakini for the moment we have to see what are the present our conditions na vile tunaweza kujifundisha na kulinda nchi yetu na amani.
Shukrani sana utaruhusu kuzungumza pengine tu maoni yako tu kuhusiana na Rais Mwai Kibaki, unamkumbuka vipi wewe kama Mkenya?
Mimi kitu ya kwanza nitatuma condolences yangu kwa familia ya Kibaki, mtoto na familia na mama wenye ni familia ya Kibaki, kwa sababu sisi ni Wakenya, wazalendo wa Kenya ambao tunamtambua mstaafu Rais Kibaki. Kwa wakati walishikana na Raila walifanya mambo makuu, na walifanya mambo, walitoa nchi yetu mahali ambao haingeweza kujitoa, lakini vile waliungana na wakawa chama moja, siasa ikarudi upande mmoja, tulishukuru sisi kama wazalendo wa kawaida. Tulifurahi juu tuliona maendeleo, barabara asikuwa zinajengwa, hatukuwa na serikali za county, lakini hiyo wakati tulipata serikali za county, na tunakumbuka mzee rais wetu mstaafu Mr. Kibaki. Namkumbuka kwa neno moja tu, yeye ukienda Kombo, yeye hakuwa na maneno mingi, alikuwa anakuambia wewe ni mkumbavu tu. Lakini ukiangalia uongozi wa Mr. Kibaki ulikuwa sawa kabisa. Juu hiyo wakati hata mambo na corruption hatukuwa tumepika, wakati hii nchi imepika. Saa hii tunaongelea kwa sasa, hatukuwa tunadhania economy ya nchi yetu itakuja kupika mahali. Saa hii tunaongelea mambo ya economy ya Kenya, lakini hiyo wakati juu walikuwa coalition walishikana na Raila, walisema waunde serikali, lakini serikali ya kwanza walifanya kazi mzuri. Serikali ya pili ndio tuliona mambo ni kama imeanza kwenda kombo. Hadi wa sasa nikiongea hivi, mimi ni kiongozi, mimi ni mzalendo wa kawaida, na mimi nimepigania kiti ya Kitasuru Ward. Hiyo wakati tulipewa democracy, lakini wakati huu tunaona ni kama democracy inaendelea kuisha tena. Juu hiyo wakati pile katiba ilikuja ya nchi ama ya Kenya yetu, tulijivunia zaidi. Kila mtu alikuwa sawa, na wakati kama huu, hiyo wakati wakaenzi hizo ukienda kuchaguana, haungeona mimi singetuma bibi yangu akuje kutawala katika ile uchaguzi iko. So lakini wakati huu tumeona tena tumelegea kidogo. Mimi sifai kutuma bibi yangu akuje tena aanze matusi na husband wale walikuwa.
Irene Muchuma, those are just the sentiments of Kenyans here who had, as I had mentioned earlier, the events here were for nominations of ODM, but as the country is mourning the death of the former President Mwai Kibaki, those are just some of the views of Kenyans here who say they remember the president as a person who ensured that we had infrastructure, a person who ensured that the education in the country was stable, and also a person who ensured that the country was peaceful. From here, from Westlands at Kisituru Ward, I'll take you back to the studio, Irene Muchuma, if you can hear me. Thank you.
Thank you, Zainab Said. Zainab reporting live from Westlands constituency. This as she receives views from residents in the area following the passing on of the late retired President Mwai Emilio Kibaki. And Interior Cabinet Secretary has just sent in his message of condolences. And I quote, "I will remember Mzee Kibaki for his unique and admirable style of leadership that singularly focused on the effective management of affairs of our great nation." He goes on and says his legendary intolerance for political pettiness and sideshows in favor of national development priorities will remain an entrenched legacy worth of admiration and emulation. A leader who will go down in history as one of the best leaders, and this was showcased even with a number of political leaders that he worked with. And I can quote and single out former, Siaya Senator James Orengo, who once applauded the late as one of the best leaders the country has ever had. And here now, we're bringing you pictorials on the life and times of the late retired President Mwai Emilio Kibaki. Take a look. Indeed, a sad moment for the country. The social media platforms are flooded with messages of condolences for our viewers from various parts of the country. And right now, we cross over to Kenya Kwanza leaders. We are expecting Deputy President William Ruto and Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula to address members of the press, and these are some of the sentiments that we received earlier on. Let's listen in.
From this forum, where we are discussing the economy of our country, we pay tribute to our third president, President Mwai Kibaki, an outstanding economist, a man who has distinguished himself with a great legacy that he has left behind, an accomplished Kenyan, a man who we all respect as our third president, a person almost all of us here worked with as his ministers. Today, as Kenya, we have lost a great son of our country.
Emilio Mwai Kibaki, our third and best president the Republic of Kenya has had, has left us. We all feel the gap, the loss, and share in the sense of pain with his family. Distinguished right from Makerere University as an economist and a teacher, Mwai Kibaki scaled the heights of Kenyan politics from the humility of the executive officer of the then ruling party to rise to be one of the finest finance ministers of this country and then the best president that we have had.
Deputy President William Ruto and Ford Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula sending their messages of condolences to the family of the late retired President Mwai Kibaki, and we're expecting a section of leaders to also follow suit. As I mentioned earlier, we're expecting the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate and party leader Kalonzo Musyoka to address members of the press from Lee Funeral Home here in the county of Nairobi. On our social media platforms, Simon Smarts is saying, rest in peace, former President Abdiraham Adan, saying rest in peace. Maurice Otieno, we will remember you as one of the best leaders. Now we cross over to the county of Narok. There are some reactions we received this morning. Let's listen in.
Mimi napenda tu kukumbuka Kibaki kama mtu ambaye alianza kuipenda amani sana. Tunakumbuka 2007 2008 siku ile kulikuwa na msukosuko kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kibaki alianza kusalimiana na Raila, wakaanza kugawa mkate nusu. Kibaki akawa ni president, Raila akawa ni prime minister. Sasa mimi nakumbuka Kibaki kwa hali.
Kibaki ni mtu alitoa vitu mingi sana ya Kenya kutengeneza. Alitengeneza uchumi ya Kenya, alileta CDA, pikipiki kwa vijana. Alifanya kazi mzuri sana, masomo ya manyumba ya mawe, alijenga mashule. Tunakumbuka Mzee Kibaki sana, alifanya kazi ya maana sana. Alitusaidia kwa kilimo zaidi, kwa Raila alijaribu kwenda juu na akateremsha zaidi. Sasa sisi wakulima ya Kenya tulisaidiwa zaidi.
Alicreate employment kwa kuleta mapikipiki kwa vijana na akabadilisha mashule, akatengeneza hii KSF projects, akajenga manyumba ya mawe na CDF introduction.
Reactions from the county of Narok, and it's not the only place that we're covering for you. We have reporters and correspondents across the country. This as it is a Black Friday for the country following the passing on of the late former President Mwai Kibaki, and he was the only surviving former president here in the country. This follows the passing on of his predecessor, Daniel Arap Moi, and now him. But when we look at the social media platforms, many Kenyans are praising the late Mwai Kibaki for his track record. Asan Cheriot is saying history will rightly record his attitude towards better Kenya. These include tremendous economic contribution, infrastructure and economy. And Pauline Joroge, HSC, is saying a statesman has rested his rich legacy, decades of dedication of public service, and the sterling performance in his 10 years of presidency will be remembered for years to come, forever in the records of history. Many Kenyans are coming together and remembering the president, the late, for his legacy on infrastructure and ensuring that each and every Kenyan is exercising his or her right to democracy. And this is one that they remember when the leaders came together to join hands, and he was the flag bearer in ensuring that democracy is exercised in the country. Honorable Naisula Lesuda, you're saying, my heartfelt condolences to the family of the retired President Mwai Kibaki. His economic transformation legacy lives on, and you remember his time and you. This is saying during the peace caravan, and his advice has kept you going ever since, and you're urging Kenyans to never give up. Continue talking to us on our social media platforms. This as the country mourns the passing on of the former retired President Emilio Mwai Kibaki. Emilio Mwai Kibaki passed on at the age of 90. His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta made this announcement this morning, and he said the country is going to a period of mourning, and by this we are going also to have the flags flying at half-mast in respect of one of the leaders here in the country, one that showed respect for the country. His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta also eulogized the late as one of the best leaders the country has ever had, one that focused on transformation and one that ensured there is speedy growth, especially on development. And the life and times of the late are here with us on KBC Channel 1, and we also appreciate your company. Let's have a look at the pictorials.
And they came to see was in a jovial mood.
We don't have ambayo inatisha maisha, hamna. Ni kwamba ilivyokuja kwa ghafla iko ikatisha watu wengi.
He was confident that he would be back on the campaign trail.
We don't have to make the whole story very longer than that. It's purely that we are looking forward to coming out and continuing with the fight, because that's the main thing.
Addressing the press immediately after the visit, Kibaki's personal doctor Dan Gikonyo broke the news that Kibaki was to be flown out of the country for further treatment.
We are going to allow Mr. Mwai Kibaki to travel to England for about 2 or 3 days, just to make sure that all that we have done has held well, and to make sure that we have another opinion that all is well. I'm sure you would agree that at a personal level, at this level, we don't want to leave anything to chance. He has a busy schedule ahead of him, and we want to make sure that the best has been done.
Members of the NAC summit reassured their supporters that all was well.
It's a very unfortunate incident coming at this time when our campaign is in high gear. There's no cause for alarm or panic. That our program of campaign is going to continue despite this temporary setback. As we said earlier on, NAC is a team. The leadership that we have is a team. And the captain has been injured in the field. He's temporarily indisposed. But the rest of the team shall continue with the play.
It was also a time to mend fences with Wamalwa Kijana, saying team spirit was essential to win the elections.
We want to assure the Kenyans that the accident that Mwai Kibaki suffered from, as we have been assured, is one that is within control. And therefore, within a very short time, he should be able to resume his duties. Okay. But as Honorable Raila has said, we are very fortunate within the framework of NAG by virtue of the fact that we are operating as a team.
Terry Micheni, KBC News.
Political leaders have time and again remembered the Kibaki Road accident, one that took place during an electioneering period, and they were united in ensuring that the election still continued, and it was a peaceful election, one that would ensure each and every Kenyan exercise his or her democratic rights. And we do appreciate your feedback on our social media platforms, this following the death of the former retired President Mwai Kibaki. Many of you are eulogizing the late as one of the leaders that had a good track record, and I would quote the President of the country, Uhuru Kenyatta, saying, as a leading figure in Kenya's post-independence history, Mwai Kibaki earned the abiding respect and affection of the people of this nation and other nations throughout the world. This as we not only expect from political leaders, but also from Kenyans across the country, and we have our correspondent reporters on the ground to bring you up to speed with the latest developments. This as the country is going into a mourning period. His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta said the country will be mourning the late until he is accorded a state funeral. And on our social media platforms, Tom Kimani, you are saying the late will be remembered for his good work at State House in transforming the country and making it a better country today. And when we look at Eve Mungai, it says, I remember the later as one of the leaders that I respected most for the work well done in the education sector. Right here on KBC Channel 1, we have lots more, and we expect you to interact with us this as we bring to the fore your reactions in regards to the passing on of the late President retired Mwai Kibaki. And this afternoon, we are expecting the former Prime Minister and the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga to lead in a press briefing from Lay Funeral Home. This in memory of the times they had with the former President of the country in uniting the country, and they shook hands, and it's one of the historical moments that for those of us who were able to witness will hardly forget about. And I will quote the Deputy President William Ruto sending his messages of condolences, and he is saying Mwai Kibaki has left behind a great legacy. He is a man we all respect. We have lost a great son of our country and a great leader. He has laid a solid foundation upon which we are building a great inspiration for the Kenya Kwanza team, especially his focus on the economy of the country. As I mentioned earlier, we're also expecting the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate and Wiper Party leader to make the address this afternoon from the Lay Funeral Home, where they have already issued a press invite. And Asab Cheriot is saying history will rightly record how the former president ensured that we have good roads. And it is one that I would also acknowledge and say we are benefiting from those roads. Cyprian Nyakundi, you are saying the former president did a good work, and he will remain in people's hearts. And Titus Mayo, you're saying one thing I have learned from Mwai Kibaki is a true legacy is defined by good deeds. If a leader is meant to be, fairly well, Mzee Mwai Kibaki. Here at KBC Channel 1 on our platform at KBC Channel 1, Ben Masharia is saying Kibaki was a hustler. He did so well as president, and we are also expecting also other leaders to follow suit. And we are yet to say that. And Honorable Patrick Olentutu is saying, I convey messages of condolences to the President Mwai Kibaki as he passes on. Kibaki left a legacy that we will live to remember: introduction of free primary education, CDF, and ushering in the new constitution that has been the mark of change here in the country. Rest well, Mzee. And Maina Karobi is saying President Mwai Kibaki has left a rich legacy, both as a person and a leader, a legacy that shall be celebrated through generations. When Kenya was on the brink of becoming a total autocratic state, President Kibaki transited the country to a full democracy, and this would go down in memory lane in the year 2002, where political parties joined hands in ensuring that Kenyans exercise their democratic rights. And during his time of politics, he was able to welcome leaders in the opposition side to ensure that Kenya is united and we are working towards the development goal as agreed before he got into power. He was one of the leaders who used to traverse the country asking Kenyans to unite leaders, to elect leaders that are not egocentric, ones that will ensure they address their concerns. And we are also looking at what other leaders continue to say on the social media platforms. Davis Ruto, HSC, saying, "My sincere condolences to the people of their constituency and Kenyans at large. Rest in peace, Mwai Kibaki. Your legacy speaks for itself." We are hash at KBC Channel 1, and we would like to continue to hear from you. What are these moments that you would remember of the late? And what are these moments that you could remember of the late president? The humorous time that he would take you into laughter. He would speak right to the public, and he would know so well that the public will get into laughter. But at the same time, he will issue stern warning to those who are going against the Constitution. Let's now listen into the life and times of the late Emilio Mwai Kibaki.
Well, we used to sell about 10% of our total.
He was born on 15th November 1931 in Dunguri village, Othaya division in the then Nyeri district of Central Province, now Nyeri County. His parents, Kibaki Gavanji and Teresia Wanjiku, were peasant farmers. Even though he was baptized as Emilio Stanley by Italian missionaries in his youth, he has always been known as Mwai Kibaki. He began his academic journey at Gatuyaini School, which he attended for the first 2 years, completing what was then called Sub A and Sub B, equivalent of Grade 1 and Grade 2. He would later join Karima Mission School for the 3 more classes of primary, and between 1944 and 1946, he proceeded to Madari School, now Nyeri High School, for Standard 4 to 6. Aside from his academic prowess, he acquired skills in carpentry, masonry, and agriculture. He joined Mangu High School in 1947 and passed his O-level examination with a maximum of 6 points in 1950.
Growing numbers of Kikuyu came.
In his final year in Mangu, Kibaki considered becoming a soldier, perhaps inspired by the veterans of the First and Second World Wars in his native village. He, however, opted to shelve his ambition and instead joined Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda, to study economics, history, and political science. His academic brilliance saw him graduate best in his class in 1955 with a first-class honors degree in economics. After his graduation, he took up an appointment as Assistant Sales Manager, Shell Company of East Africa, Uganda Division. It was while working there that he earned a scholarship to pursue a postgraduate studies in any British university. He joined the prestigious London School of Economics for a BSc in Public Finance, graduating with a distinction. In 1958, he went back to Makerere University, this time as an assistant lecturer, and taught in the economics department. In early 1960, Kibaki left academia for active politics by giving up his job at Makerere and returning to Kenya to begin his journey into politics. as the executive officer of Kenya African National Union Party. In 1961, Kibaki married Lucy Muthoni, a daughter of a church minister who was then a secondary school head teacher. The couple was blessed with 4 children: Judy Wanjiku, Jimmy Kibaki, David Kagai, and Tony Githinji. Lucy, however, died on 26th of April 2016 at 80 years at Buma Cromwell Hospital in London after a brief hospitalization at the Nairobi Hospital for chest pains. He was a committed member of the Roman Catholic Church and attended mostly Sunday afternoon services at the Consolata Shrines Catholic Church in
Many thanks, Safin Acheng Oma, for that report. The life and times of the late former President Mwai Emilio Kibaki, and the pictures coming right on the screen from the Lay Funeral Home, where we were expecting the former Prime Minister and the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate to lead the team in addressing members of the press. This following the passing on of the late President of Kenya, the late former President of Kenya, Mwai Emilio Kibaki, and will be crossing over live in a short while. Kevin Washira, my colleague, informs us that Ngilu, one of the leaders in the Azimio la Umoja, is at the location at the moment and will be crossing over live any time from now. Remember, the passing on of the late former President Mwai Emilio Kibaki comes 100 days to the next general election, and it is just during this period that you're expecting the presidential aspirants to name their deputies, this in beating the IEBC deadline. And Kevin Washira is informing me that Charity Ngilu, the Kitui governor, is currently addressing members of the press. Let's cross over and listen in.
We have lost him at a time when Kenya required his wisdom, political wisdom. But we also know he was a statesman that was unique, that he listened to what people were saying before he made a decision. Late President Kibaki spearheaded this country out of terrible economic time of the 90s in ensuring that we got a real economic state of country where everybody alikuwa anasema tunajifunia kuwa wa Kenya. We will miss him, we will miss his leadership, we will miss his guidance, his political strength that we all learned from. I worked with him for 10 years as his cabinet minister, both in the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Water. And he guided us in such a way that we were able to work in our ministries without any hindrances and without any difficulties. So we remember late His Excellency Mwai Kibaki for the very good things that he did. He was a great economist, he was a reformist statesman, and we'll miss him. Thank you, sir.
Governor Ngilu addressing members of the press from the Lay Funeral Home, where we're also expecting other leaders from the Azimio la Umoja flagship to be able to address members of the press. Earlier on, we have received condolences from other political leaders, including the Deputy President, William Ruto. And Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu has eulogized the late as an economist and a reformist. And he's one of the leaders who worked with political leaders in traversing the country. He was very vibrant when it comes to campaigning. And here on KBC Channel 1, we are bringing you that memoir. Take a look. bring you the life and times of the late former President Mwai Kibaki on his campaign trail later on in this broadcast. Going back to our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1, we are live on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. And Tyson, you're saying not a single road, building or school named after this gentleman, now the late, but his legacy lives in our hearts forever. President Mwai Kibaki was the best. That is Tyson Yasin. And Honorable Ngonza, Honorable, you call yourself Mohesh Ngonza, you're saying rest in peace Mwai Kibaki. You are the best Kenya had so far. Your economic policies kept Kenya afloat. What a rich legacy. And of course, from where you sit, you had the good times, the bad times of the late Mwai Kibaki. You're free to share with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. As I was earlier mentioning, his death comes at a time that the country is during an electioneering period, 110 days to the next general elections. And this, as the IEBC has put the deadline for presidential aspirants to name their deputies in less than 7 days from now. And this is all gearing up. At the same time, it's coming when the country is going through the political nominations days, as each and every party wants to ensure that it beats the deadline for the party primaries ahead of the August 9th general election. One that Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has time and again said that the country is ready to hold the next general elections and all security apparatus are in place. This ahead of the exercise that will be considered one of the historic here in the country. My director informs me that the memories we wanted to bring you, one of showcasing the late as one of the vibrant political leaders, is ready. Let's take a look at what used to take place during that time.
Kwamba watu wa mwingi hawapigi karata na maisha yao, hawabahatishi. Dunia nzima sasa imekuwa rainbow, Kenya nzima.
Sasa tumeanza mipango ya maendeleo na mipango ambayo tuwapanga, tutaanza Januari. Tuanze na mpango wa elimu, ili elimu ya primary school iwe ni elimu ambayo yasomwa bila malipo yoyote, kwa sababu hesabu ambayo tumefanya yatuonyesha kwamba kodi mnayolipa yaweza kufanyia tusomeshe watoto bila malipo. Hili mpango wetu mkubwa ni juu ya maji na hasa sehemu hizi kavu, na mpango huo ndio utakuwa wa kwanza kabisa upande wetu, na tunajua tutafaulu kwa sababu hata misaada ambayo ilikomeshwa hapo mbeleni itaanza tena.
Part of the life and times of the late Emilio Mwai Kibaki, who passed on today. The announcement was made by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, and in a short while we're expecting West Pokot Senator Samuel Pugisio to address members of the press. This as political leaders have put aside their differences and join hands in mourning the passing on of a leader that they all might have worked with at some point in their life and times in politics. And earlier on, we had Charity Ngilu, the Kitui governor, who has eulogized the late as an economist and reformist. We have also seen Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i issuing his message of condolence to through a statement to the newsrooms. And this afternoon, we are expecting expecting the former Prime Minister and Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga to lead the Azimio la Umoja brigade in sending their message of condolence. Earlier on, we had Deputy President William Ruto and Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula, who was speaking in an event here in the home country, and they described the late as one of the best leaders the country has ever had, and this has been showcased in his development records. We have also been able to talk to a number of Kenyans across the board. We have had interactions with Kenyans down at the coastal part of Kenya, and the legacy remains that is one of the best leaders the country has ever had. The track record that keeps on getting to our social media platform is one of infrastructure, and as I mentioned earlier, the beneficiaries of the Thika Road Superhighway will talk of it so well, and also many parents are applauding the move that his government made, one of ensuring that each and every child is in school. Tony Gitonga is saying, Mzee Kibaki, you did well. Your wonderful legacy will be remembered. You set the nation in course for prosperity, and not once did you ask to be clapped for or seek to impose your successor or elevate your private business interest over public interest. Rest well, Mzee. And we go on. A number of political leaders continue to send their messages of condolences. Here is one citizen, Ronnie Betts, says, Mwai Kibaki still remains the best president of Kenya so far. Rest in peace, legend. Your legacy will remain in our nation. And Bella Agada, you're saying the late, you set the pace. And Danny Chacha, you're saying, rest well, Mwai Kibaki. You left behind a great legacy in our nation. The late passed on at the age of 90, and this announcement was made by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, and we are in a period of mourning as a country. The flags will be flying at half-mast in respect of a leader who served the country diligently. This as the government is preparing for his state burial, and we'll be giving you details as they unfold. And this one says, I remember how His Excellency, the late, used to use the word kumbafu. I would break into laughter in my living room with family. Well, these are some of the memories, and we do encourage you to keep on interacting with us. Send your messages of condolences to all our social media platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at KBC Channel 1. And one is saying, go well, Your Excellency Mwai Kibaki, you changed this country and shaped it into becoming what we have today. We enjoy good roads, other developments, because you care for us. And Lynette Chepkorir, many of you would know her as the UDA nominee, woman representative for Bomet. Lynette Toto, you say President Mwai Kibaki was a great president Kenya ever had. His great admirable economic contributions and legacy to Kenya lives on. We will dearly miss him. Continue talking to us on our social media platforms this as political leaders come together in issuing their messages of condolences, and we are here to share your views this as the country gets into mourning. Let's have a look at the life and times of the late Emilio Mwai Kibaki.
sell about 10% of our total.
He was born on 15th November 1931 in Dunguri village, Othaya division in the then Nyeri district of Central Province, now Nyeri County. His parents, Kibaki Gavanji and Teresia Wanjiku, were peasant farmers. Even though he was baptized as Emilio Stanley by Italian missionaries in his youth, he has always been known as Mwai Kibaki. He began his academic journey at Gatuyaini School, which he attended for the first 2 years, completing what was then called Sub-A and Sub-B, equivalent of Grade 1 and Grade 2. He would later join Karima Mission School for the 3 more classes of primary, and between 1944 and 1946, he proceeded to Madari School, now Nyeri High School, for Standard 4 to 6. Aside from his academic prowess, he acquired skills in carpentry, masonry, and agriculture. He joined Mangu High School in 1947 and passed his O-level examination with a maximum of 6 points in 1950.
Growing numbers of Kikuyu came.
In his final year in Mangu, Kibaki considered becoming a soldier, perhaps inspired by the veterans of the First and Second World Wars in his native village. He, however, opted to shelve his ambition and instead joined Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda, to study economics, history, and political science. His academic brilliance saw him graduate best in his class in 1955 with a first-class honors degree in economics. After his graduation, he took up an appointment as Assistant Sales Manager, Shell Company of East Africa, Uganda Division. It was while working there that he earned a scholarship to pursue a postgraduate studies in any British university. He joined the prestigious London School of Economics for a BSc in Public Finance, graduating with a distinction. In 1958, he went back to Makerere University, this time as an assistant lecturer, and taught in the economics department. In early 1960, Kibaki left academia for active politics by giving up his job at Makerere and returning to Kenya to begin his journey into politics as the executive officer of Kenya African National Union Party. In 1961, Kibaki married Lucy Muthoni, a daughter of a church minister who was then a secondary school head teacher. The couple was blessed with 4 children: Judy Wanjiku, Jimmy Kibaki, David Kagai, and Tony Githinji. Lucy, however, died on 26th of April 2016 at 80 years at Boomer Cromwell Hospital in London after a brief hospitalization at the Nairobi Hospital for chest pains. He was a committed member of the Roman Catholic Church and attended mostly Sunday afternoon services at the Consolata Shrines Catholic Church in Nairobi. He enjoyed playing golf and was a member of the Muthaiga Golf Club.
Well, apart from the life and times of the late in his political life, what are these phrases that you remember about the late? Take a look.
He placed on education was exemplified by how he emphatically pushed for free primary education. This he began as an election campaign pledge and fulfilled it soon after being sworn in as Kenya's 3rd president.
Ni lazima tuwe na bidii ya kufanya.
As a former finance minister, he knew only too well the challenges brought by rapid population growth.
Viwanda vijengwe kote katika Kenya, na sio tu katika miji mikubwa ya Kenya vile Nairobi na Mombasa.
Still on responsible parenting, he cautioned the youth against excessive drinking.
I have no reason but to appeal to you please do not yield to the field of drinking. I say this not because I don't drink, no, I do.
In politics, he was averse to the use of derogatory and abusive language in public.
If you just hang around and don't register, you are useless. No, true. You can't be useful. You can't be any use because you are not participating in the development of Kenya.
Kibaki was in many ways unlike his predecessor Daniel Moi, who was vocal on many issues of national importance.
I appeal to all political leaders and their supporters to engage in peaceful campaigns. Let us all remember that Kenya's collective destiny is far more important than the interest of any individual person or group.
He, however, on a few occasions seized the opportunity to set the record straight, as he did during the clamor by the proscribed Mombasa Republican Army to have the coast secede from Kenya.
Hakuna haja mtu yeyote awe ni nani au nani kujaribu kutuharibia nchi. Hakuna mtu ataweza hiyo. Wananchi wa Kenya wamejitoa na wako tayari, na hakuna mtu ambaye ni yeyote ambaye ataweza kuleta fujo katika nchi ya Kenya.
One of the political phrases I would remember about the late is we are truly unbogable. Nothing can defeat us. The late would say that in one of his political campaigns, this as he was eyeing the top seat in 2002, and it is during that same period that he was involved in an accident, one that political leaders have never shied away from talking about it. And I remember during those times they came together, placed aside the differences and ensured that they're united in having a democratic country, and each and every Kenyan will benefit from it. I'm going back to the social media platforms, and George Waweru is saying, rest in peace, President Mwai Kibaki. Great words and deeds actioned to transform Kenya. Pole to the dear family. Peter Mwita, you're saying rest in peace. Your legacy lives on. And Kelly Suge is saying recognized, celebrated for his brilliance, focus, gentleman that you will always remember. And this, as we are on standby as we wait for Senator for West Pokot, Samuel Pogesio, to address members of the press. This as he is at the Lay Funeral Home. We have our colleague Kevin Washira, who is on the ground giving us updates. And earlier on, we had Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, who addressed members of the press, and he eulogized the late as an economist and a reformist, and she worked with the late in various political areas. This as they all strived to get position for themselves. This in ahead of general elections, and here we are today. We're expecting the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to take us back to the handshake that transformed this country. And Kevin Washira is on standby at the Lee Funeral Home. This as we expect to get more reactions from the ground. Kevin, good afternoon.
Well, thank you very much, Irene Muchuma. We are camped here outside Lee Funeral Home, where the body of the third president, Mwai Kibaki, is lying. The third president, Mwai Kibaki, he was confirmed dead today, and he was announced by the President Uhuru Kenyatta. And earlier, President Uhuru Kenyatta was here to view the body, but he did not communicate, he did not talk to the media. Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was also here. He did not address media. Other dignitaries that have come include Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, who has remembered Kibaki as a patriotic Kenyan, and she remembered when she served as the Minister of Water and Minister for Health in Kibaki's government. And she has also passed the message of condolences. And Kenyans have started gathering around Lee Funeral Home to pay tribute to the third president, Mwai Kibaki. And joining me now here is some of the beneficiaries. You recognize that Mwai Kibaki will be remembered for bringing motorcycles, what are commonly known as boda. Joining me here now are some of the beneficiaries who are making a living from the borders that were brought by Mwai Kibaki. Karibu sana. Nieleze kwa majina lako na utueleze unakumbuka mheshimiwa Mwai Kibaki na jambo gani?
Ya, majina yangu naitwa Rogers, nikiwa chairman wa bodaboda hapa Nairobi. Nina huzuni sana kwa sababu kazi ile tunafanya saa hii ni rais wetu mstaafu Kibaki ambaye alileta pikipiki, na uongozi wake tuna huzuni sana kama wana bodaboda kupotesha shujaa ambaye ametupa kazi. Tumekuwa tukikumbuka chuzi tukisema ya kwamba saa hii tuko tunahangaishwa Nairobi, lakini mzee angelikuwa mzee angekumbuka ya kwamba ni kazi yenye alianzisha mwenyewe. Kwa hivyo tunasema Mungu aweze kumuhifadhi mahali pema peponi. Tutamkumbuka kwa kazi nzuri ametupa kazi, na tunaambia viongozi wetu waike mfano wa rais wetu ambaye ametuacha Mwai Kibaki.
Asante sana. Wacha tusikie mzee mwingine hapa. Tueleze jina lako na yako.
Kwa majina naitwa Charles Sobonyo. Mimi nafanya kazi hapa Yaya. Niko kama chairman ya Tigoni and Shaka Road. Ile huzuni niko naye kwa moyo wangu. Sijasoma kazi nyingine sana, lakini kazi nimesoma ni kazi ya motorbike. Na hiyo kazi ya motorbike imenisaidia kwa muda mrefu. Ninaendelea naye watoto na wasomesha watoto. Sasa tumepoteza kiongozi wetu ambaye tulikuwa ametuajiri kazi. Ningeomba tu viongozi wengine wenye wako kwa serikali pia waagize hiyo mwenendo ya huyo Kibaki wetu. Kibaki ametuacha na tuko na huzuni, hata nina huzuni, sijui nitafanya namna gani. Sababu penye tunaelekea ni kama tunaenda kufukuzwa kwa hii sekta. Hatujui tutafanya kazi gani sasa. Na kuna watu wetu wengi na vijana pia wengine hawajasoma. Ningeomba tu tafadhali Mungu amsaidie Mwai Kibaki, amweke romali pema peponi.
Asante sana. Let us hear from the last person from the border sector.
Asante sana. Kwa majina naitwa Daniel Okongo, nafanya huko side za Kikomba. Mimi kitu Kibaki alifanya yenye inaweza kunifurahisha ni kutuletea hii kazi yenye tunafanya, ambapo tunaijua kama boda. Kitu muhimu naweza kumbuka nayo Kibaki, wakati alileta pikipiki alileta kwa bei rahisi. Hata nikikumbuka mwaka wa 2013 kama alikuwa anaenda nyumbani, aliwacha kama pikipiki BM 150 ya Boxer tulikuwa tunanunua 106,500. Saa hii ushuru imeongezwa mpaka hiyo pikipiki imefika hadi 150,500, na hiyo ni different kubwa sana yenye iko, ambapo kwa sasa tuko na huzuni kwa sababu tunaona Kibaki ndiye alikuwa na nia ya kusaidia maskini na watu wa chini, lakini hata sasa venye bei ya pikipiki naenda itashinda hata watu wengi kwa kununua, kwa sababu serikali imeona hii ndio kazi, vijana wamerudi sasa, wamechukua ni kama ya kutosha usuru mingi kwa serikali. Sasa mimi kitu ningeomba viongozi wetu wa sai waige mfano wa Kibaki na wapunguze ushuru kwa hii sekta ya bodaboda, bei ya pikipiki irudi chini ili vijana waweze ku-own pikipiki yao binafsi. Kwa sai mimi naomba Mwenyezi Mungu amlase mahali pema peponi. Asanteni.
Those are the views of Kenyans who are making a living from using boda that were introduced here by President Mwai Kibaki during his reign. And he will also be remembered for introducing free primary education in 2003. And joining me now are some of the Kenyans who have benefited from free primary education. Tueleze jina lako na tueleze unakumbuka Kibaki nani?
Bas, mimi kwa majina naitwa Kasiano Marvin Sadaka. Ningependa kumkumbuka Kibaki, Mheshimiwa Kibaki kwa mambo mawili. Ya kwanza nakumbuka Kibaki kwa amani. Wakati Kibaki alipoingia, sisi wa Kenya tulikuwa tuko na amani, ya hali ya juu. Hata ekonomi yetu ilikuwa ni mzuri kabisa, tuliishi kwa amani, vitu zilikuwa zinakuwa affordable. Kitu ya pili nakumbuka Kibaki kwa sababu ya free education. Mimi mwenyewe mtoto wangu has been benefited kwa hiyo free education. Na mimi pia kama mchungaji ningependa tu kutoa mfano wa ule mtumishi wa Mungu alikuwa anaitwa Elisha na Elijah. Biblia inasema kwamba wakati Elisha alipochukuliwa na Mungu, spirit yake iliingia kwa Elisha. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba siku ya leo hiyo spirit mzuri ambayo ilikuwa ndani ya Kibaki ya utulivu na ukomavu iingie kwa Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, aendeleshe namna hiyo. Asante.
Let us hear from a direct beneficiary of free primary education. Tueleze jina lako na utueleze wewe ulisoma masomo yenye haina malipo?
Nilisomea primary bila malipo.
Na utueleze unakumbuka Kibaki nani?
Naitwa Morgan John. Mwai Kibaki, former president. Namkumbuka juu alifanya tukasoma bure primary, free primary education tulisoma bure, na Mungu amlaze mahali pema peponi.
Thank you very much. Maybe what can you remember Mwai Kibaki for?
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Peter Munguti. Naweza kumbuka Rais Mwai Kibaki kwa masomo ya bure yenye aliintroduce, tunafurahia. Mungu amweke mahali pema peponi.
Asante. Well, those are views of Kenyans who are camping here outside Lee Funeral Home to celebrate the life of the third president, the late Mwai Kibaki. And as you can see, it's a somber mood is engulfing here as Kenyans remember the good memories and the good deeds that were done by the third president, the late Mwai Kibaki. Now back to you, Irene Mochuma.
Kevin Washira, good to have you. Kevin Washira is at the Lee Funeral Home where the Azimio Umoja Brigade is expected to have a press conference this following the passing on of the late, the former president Mwai Kibaki. And we have listened to Kenyans eulogizing the late as one that brought development, especially on infrastructure and the education sector. And those Kenyans will also remember the late as one of the political leaders who were able to stretch hand to the opposition while in power. And this we saw the late welcoming the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to a mediation table where we had the chief mediator Kofi Annan holding the two together in ensuring that we end a political crisis in 2002, 2003 in in the year 2017 in ensuring that the country is united. And right now we are going to our archives and say the inauguration of President of Kenya, then currently the late Emilio Mwai Kibaki. Take a look.
Anywhere, even on the buildings, anywhere that people can be able to get any bit of space, they are there to join into the celebration, the pomp, the fanfare, the ceremony that is going on here at Uhuru Park. Going back again to NARC and the incoming President Mwai Kibaki, as we say, he has a tall order. There is quite a lot that he has before him. Would also like again to record our appreciation that South Africa, which had been under that awful apartheid regime, was able to get itself under the shackles of colonialism, inspired by our own struggle here in Kenya for Uhuru. They struggled on their own under the able guidance of the first president of the Republic of South Africa, Nelson Madiba Mandela, who is very, very much respected everywhere around the world, not only just in Africa, but around the world. And I believe that President Moi, in deciding to set up the Moi Foundation, is borrowing a leaf, as it were, from Mandela, known very, very fondly to his own people as Madiba. And thus he would also want to emulate and follow in those footsteps of Mandela so that he can be able to be involved in conflict resolution in the Eastern Horn of Africa and also around the continent itself, and also set up a foundation that will also involve itself in the concerns of the ravages of HIV/AIDS.
Labda nikukumbushe tu kwamba Rais mteule Mwai Kibaki alisisitiza ama amesisitiza kwamba serikali yake itawahusisha watu wote. Amesema kwamba ataendelea na juhudi za amani zilizofanywa na rais anayeondoka, na vile vile akawashukuru wa Kenya wote kwa kumpatia fursa ya kuliongoza taifa hili. Wamesema tuna imani na Kibaki. Mabango haya, wengine wanasema Kibaki tosha. Tumeamua kupandisha hilo bango, si rahisi, unaweza ukaona hapa mtazamaji, kulifikisha huko si kazi rahisi. Hivyo ni imani ya wananchi hiyo, kwani wameamua. Kibaki, rais mteule, aliwashukuru wa Kenya kwa kumpatia fursa ya kuliongoza taifa hili. Alisema hali ya amani ambayo wananchi walidumisha vile vile wakati kabla ya uchaguzi, wakati wa uchaguzi wenyewe, na vile vile baada ya uchaguzi, imedhihirisha ukomavu wao wa kisiasa. Na Wakenya wamesema wanatarajia serikali itakayobuniwa na chama cha NARC itatimiza ahadi zake. Hivyo ni kwamba rais mteule naye pia amekariri kwamba ahadi zilizotolewa na NARC zitatimizwa kwa mujibu wa, kwani Waswahili walisema ahadi ni deni na dawa ya deni ni kulipa.
On the plate of NARC, Mwai Kibaki and his new government, there is the question of trying to revive agriculture, consolidating horticulture and tourism. And then of course then there is the question of how would they be able to
nafasi ambayo ya kiuchumi ambayo hatukuwa hata tunategemea sana mikopo ya nje. Kwa hivyo atakumbukwa kama kiongozi ambaye aliinua hadhi ya taifa letu, kiongozi ambaye alituweka mahala pazuri kiuchumi. Wakenya walikuwa wanapata nafasi ya kujiendeleza, biashara zilikuwa zinanoga, na kwa hivyo letu ni kusema tu safari njema mzee Kibaki. Tunaomba kwamba Mwenyezi Mungu aweze kuilaza roho yake mahali pema peponi. Asanteni sana.
Mheshimiwa Yarati.
Asante sana. First of all, we just want to say as Kenyans that our God loves us.
Yes.
As I send my condolences to the family of Mwai Kibaki, who we never called Mustafa. We called him our president until when God has called him. But more importantly, to just say as Kenyans, if there's a role model that we borrowed from a leader who had a character that many of us would wish to be, I think it's our President Mwai Kibaki. And for us as Kenyans, you remember very well, there were some of the attributes that he believed in, and we are hoping as we go to this new dispensation that we can really look back and borrow these attributes and just bring back that dignity of Kenyans. Yes. And for the first time, try our best to go back on how he taught us that you can live as a country and you can use the resources that you have, but use them in the right way. We enjoyed today many of the developments that he brought in. For us, I think we enjoyed him since 2002. We were young, we walked a journey with him, and we were proud to be part of him. I remember in 2007 when we were campaigning, if there's one thing he believed in women. If it is the economic empowerment, if it's the 1/3 that we used to cry for, I remember during his time, that was the first time he brought in that policy. And we were able to see women now joining slowly into government, into the different parastatals. So for us in Nairobi, and especially in Dagoretti North where we have State House, I think we just want to say we wish him God's grace and blessings, and may God receive his soul. But more importantly, we pray for our president, who God has given a burden. I think he has been able now to bury, and he remains now the only one. Hatuna mstaafu. Sasa ni yeye. But may God give him strength. And God knew in his time and in his season as a president, he will take care of his fathers and ensure they also go well to their next home. So, Your Excellency, our President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, we pray that God will give you that strength. As we move on as a country, I believe as he goes to heaven, he looks down and says he's leaving Kenya to go into a dispensation that he would wish to see us go in a country that is zero corruption, and a country that can work together, and a country that can believe in unity, and a country that will have peace, that we shall not see any war as we finish our elections. God bless his soul. May God give guidance to his family, and may we all Kenyans remember the good things that Mwai Kibaki did for us.
Mheshimiwa Kamanda, si tumeongea na hata leto tulikuwa naye nyumbani. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Kamanda,
yes.
Very fast, what would you remember Mwai Kibaki for?
This is the man that, first of all, he made me a minister. It's good to appreciate that he gave me a big honor. But besides that, this is a leader that we all know that he has done a lot for this country. This is the man who, all the years, he has worked with the government. This is the man that 10 years that he was in power, he turned the economy of this country to where it was at that particular time. He is the one who started the issue of infrastructure. Anything for Kibaki was infrastructure.
A section of political leaders continue to eulogize the late, the best way they worked with him, and the life and times they had together, both in the political life and also the social life. We have seen ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna. We have seen former Nairobi County Speaker Beatrice Elachi. We have also seen politician Maina Kamanda. Elachi eulogizing the late as one who appreciated women empowerment in the country, and politician Maina Kamanda saying the late made him a cabinet secretary, who by then he was a minister, and said the late will go down in history as one of the leaders who who spearheaded development during their time in office. And KBC Channel 1 is keeping the memories alive. In 1979, Mwai Kibaki was fundraising at an event in a constituency in central Kenya, one that you'd like to have a look at. Here we go. Well, positive messages from our archives, and also we continue to receive your reactions on our social media platforms. Bernard Langa, you're saying the greatest son and patriot that has ever walked this dear land has departed. President Kibaki has left us a proud legacy and has placed our country in the world map. Well, continue talking to us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. What are the lessons you learned during his time in politics? What would you urge political leaders to emulate from the late former president of the country, Mwai Emilio Kibaki? And right now we are going back to listen to His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. This is as he announced the passing on of the late former president. Let's listen in.
It is my sorrowful duty to announce to the nation the passing on of His Excellency Emilio Mwai Kibaki, the third president. His Excellency Mwai Kibaki lived a dedicated life of service, and we salute a notable father figure in the chronicles of our nation. A leader who strove so hard and accomplished so much for this country. A nation he so deeply cherished and served with commitment and an unbending will to improve the lives of our people. As we mourn this immeasurable loss, we recall with eternal gratitude President Kibaki's patriotic journey in service to his country, which can be traced back to Kenya's fight for liberation. As a university lecturer, a legislator, member of parliament for 5 decades, a cabinet minister, vice president, official leader of the opposition, and finally, as the third president of the Republic of Kenya, Emilio Mwai Kibaki was a quintessential patriot whose legacy of civic responsibility will continue to inspire generations of Kenyans long into our future. We remember the values by which he lived, the ideals he embraced, his dignity, his diligence, his candor, and concern for the well-being of all Kenyans. As a leading figure in Kenya's post-independence history, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki earned the abiding respect and affection of the people of this nation and other nations throughout the world. President Kibaki will forever be remembered as a gentleman in Kenyan politics, a brilliant debater whose eloquence, wit, and charm won the day time and time again. His contributions in the Ministry of Finance and as Vice President saw Kenya's economy grow steadily, fueled by a commodities boom, as well as fiscal and monetary policies that were the backbone of his economic philosophy. Believing that Kenya was once again ripe for a vibrant multi-democracy, President Kibaki exited from government and led the charge to keep the ruling party accountable. His contributions to the restoration of multi-party democracy as the leader of the official opposition, combined with his track record and impressive credentials, made Mwai Kibaki the natural choice for selection as the opposition consensus candidate against my own candidature in the year 2002 and the presidential elections that followed thereafter. On the 30th of December 2002, Mwai Kibaki was sworn in as the third president of the Republic of Kenya. He served as head of state and government until the 9th of April 2013. The late former president's administration conceptualized and spearheaded transformation in crucial sectors such as education through the globally lauded free primary education program, infrastructure developments in transport and energy, and the increasing the availability and access to health care for his fellow Kenyans. In honor of this great statesman, Kenya remains committed to maintaining policies that promote economic and social empowerment, democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. The late President Kibaki championed the realization and objectives of the East African Community Common Market, of trade liberalization for the citizens of partner states of the East African Community. His inclusive spirit and conviction for economic empowerment transcended the territory of Kenya towards cross-border economic stability. The late former president's central role in shepherding Kenya into a new constitutional dispensation at the culmination of a decade-long quest is a towering legacy that immortalizes President Kibaki. We can take comfort in the inspiring legacy of ideals and examples of devotion to his country, which he bequeathed to us all, more so with our new constitutional dispensation. His dedication and love for our country undoubtedly honors Kenya, East Africa, Africa, and in the world. He leaves behind a more united and prosperous Kenya, as well as a template for servant leadership, which we must continue to nurture and improve for generations to come. And on his passing, today we once again renew our pledge in tribute to our great leader to foster. As we mourn the passing of an icon, we can rejoice in the lifelong companionship he enjoyed with his now departed wife, Her Excellency Mama Lucy Kibaki, and his extended family. Today, our sincere sympathy to his children, Judy Wanjiko, Jimmy Kibaki, David Kagi, and Tony Githinji, and to their families, and for all who mourn the passing of this great leader. As the late former president served Kenya, Africa, and the world, he also remained a deeply devoted family man, an avid golfer, and an earnest friend to many. To them we say that while Emilio Mwai Kibaki is no longer with us in body, his spirit, legacy, values, and ideals live on in each one of us and in the limitless ways that he made Kenya immeasurably better. Mwai Kibaki lives on in the hearts of millions of Kenyans, East Africans, and Africans who benefited from his leadership, admired his character, and were inspired by his example. Mwai Kibaki lives on in our fond memories of his strength of will, his charm, his wit, and his passionate love for God, for family, and for nation. In honor of the life and times of the late former President Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki, and on behalf of a grateful nation, I, Uhuru Kenyatta, under the authority vested in me as the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, do hereby order and direct that 1, in testimony of the highest of esteem in which all Kenyans hold the person of Mwai Kibaki, the nation will observe a period of national mourning from today until sunset. That President Mwai Kibaki shall be accorded a state funeral with full military honors and protocols being rendered and observed. 3, that the flag of the Republic of Kenya shall be flown at half-mast at State House and all Kenyan diplomatic missions, public buildings, public grounds, all military bases, posts, and stations, on all naval vessels of the Republic of Kenya and elsewhere throughout the entire territory of the Republic of Kenya from today until sunset on the day of his internment. And 4, that the President, the Deputy President, the Chief Justice, cabinet secretaries, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Speaker of the Senate, Kenya's diplomats abroad, and whomsoever else is so authorized by law, national flag on their official motorcade from today sunset on the day of his internment. May President Kibaki's family be comforted, may his memory be honored, and may his example be emulated. This issued under the hand and seal of the President at State House, Nairobi, on the 22nd day of April, the year of our Lord, 2022.
The country in mourning following the passing on of the only surviving former president of the country, Jimmy Wanjigi, Safina presidential candidate, sending his message of condolence. And he says the late His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki will be remembered as the greatest president the country has ever had. It is a very dark day for Kenya. We have lost one of our best and our hearts are broken. Arelon, we were seeing the inauguration event that took place from our archives, and we are going back to it. Take a look.
Really do not know, but I think myself it is anything in excess of 200,000+ here. There is hardly any room for anybody to be able to squeeze themselves in. There are no prior entertainment. There's no prior entertainment at all of any sort before the state installation, because this is a very serious affair. We will be witnessing today the first time in Kenya that an incumbent president will be officially handing over power to his successor. The National Rainbow Coalition leader, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, will this morning, Monday the 30th of December 2002, on the eve of a new year, become Kenya's third president following his party's landslide victory over Uhuru Kenyatta of KANU. Even though officially President Daniel Arap Moi's term ends at noon on Sunday, the 5th of January 2003, once he hands the instruments of power this morning to the incoming president, the president-elect Emilio Mwai Kibaki, that will have come to the end of his term. The President-elect Mwai Kibaki was declared by the chairman of the ECK, Mr. Samuel Kivuitu, to have been elected president at around 5:30 p.m. last evening. And once so declared, a person automatically becomes president, and the incumbent ceases to be president upon that declaration. However, before entering upon the office of president, the leader of the National Rainbow Coalition, the Honorable Mwai Kibaki, is required to take the oath of allegiance and such other oaths under the Promissory Oaths Act before the Chief Justice for the due execution of the office of President. Hence,
the inauguration today of Kenya's third president in a grand parade marking the transfer of power from President Moi to the historic transitional elections of Friday, the 27th of December. During the handing over ceremony, members of the armed forces will symbolically lower the old presidential standard on one side of the pavilion here at Uhuru Park and hoist a new flag.
Lisemwalo lipo na kama halipo basi linjiani linakuja, walisema wahenga. Haiwi mwisho imekuwa. Sasa tuko katika uwanja wa Uhuru Park na umati umemiminika, umati ambao haujawahi kuonekana katika nchi hii, katika historia ya taifa hili, ambapo leo rais wa tatu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya Mwai Kibaki anaapishwa kama rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Tukiwakumbusha tu kwamba tulikuwa na uchaguzi hapa nchini ambao uchaguzi tunaweza kusema haukuwa na fujo lolote, uchaguzi ambao wachunguzi waliofika hapa walisema kwamba unafaa kuigwa na nchi nyingine za Afrika. Wengi wamefurahia matokeo ya uchaguzi na wengi wamesema ulifanywa kwa njia ya amani na ulikuwa uchaguzi wa haki. Huu ulikuwa uchaguzi wa 9 hapa nchini, tukikumbuka tu ya kwamba uchaguzi wa kwanza ulikuwa baada ya uhuru mwaka 1963, wa pili mwaka 1969, wa tatu 1974, wa 4 1979, wa 5 ulikuwa mwaka 1983, wa 6 88, 7 1992, wa 8 1997. Wote katika uchaguzi huo ilikuwa ni chama cha KANU. Sasa kimekwenda upinzani. Sasa tuko na chama cha NAK ambacho kimeibuka mshindi kwenye uchaguzi huu ambao ni uchaguzi wa 9. Kama mlivyofahamu, ambapo tumekuwa tukiwafahamisha kuhusu matokeo ya uchaguzi, ni kwamba chama kinachotawala cha NAK kimezoa takriban viti 124, lakini bado tutarajia matokeo mengine. Ile hali chama cha upinzani cha KANU kimefikia karibu viti 57 hivi, Ford People 14, Safina 2, Ford Asili 2, Sisi kwa Sisi 2, Shirikisho 1. Kama mnavyoona, viongozi wa tabaka mbalimbali kutoka wananchi wa kawaida, kutoka kufikia mabalozi wa viongozi wa kidini, wote wamefika hapa kusubiri kwa hamu sherehe hii ambayo ni murwa kabisa. Watu wanaisubiri kwa hamu kwa sababu umati ambao umefika hapa, kulingana na wadadisi au wale wanaokisia umati wa watu, wanasema kwamba unazidi 1200. Hivyo basi unaweza kujua kwamba watu wameamua na kwamba sasa ni ile kura na haki ya wananchi wameamua kwamba ni NAK ndicho chama kinachotawala. Hivyo basi wananchi wote wanasubiri kwa hamu sherehe hii ya leo.
The President, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, was born in Othaya district in Nyeri in 1931. He attended Nyeri Boys High School between 1939 and 1946. He later went to Mangu High School when he attained the highest score, and then proceeded to the then prestigious Makerere University in Uganda. And while there, he emerged the best student in the Faculty of Arts in Economic and Political Science in 1955. He was chairman of the Kenya Students Association at Makerere and later one of the vice chairman of the Makerere Students Guild. He played an active role in the Makerere student strike in 1951. So his agitation for liberty and the need for people to be able to have power and express themselves goes back many years. He later went to the London School of Economics and then returned to Makerere, this time as a lecturer in economics. Kibaki is believed to have been prevailed upon by the doyen of opposition politics, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, to return to Kenya in 1960, where he became KANU's executive officer when the party was launched at Kirigiti Stadium, Kiambu. At that time, he was earning a paltry figure of only Kenya shillings 700. He returned in 1960 and then became one of the founding fathers of KANU when it was launched in Kiambu at Kirigiti Stadium. Soon after, he resigned from a well-paying job at Makerere and took up the job of being KANU's first executive officer before joining the party politics. He briefly worked for Shell Oil Company of East Africa as the Uganda Division Sales Manager. This was after declining a colonial government job as an administrative officer. In 1963, Kibaki joined active politics and became the Member of Parliament for Donholm Road constituency, which later became Bahati before its current name, Makadara constituency. He dislodged at that time a veteran politician, Mrs. Jael Mbogo. In 1970, Kibaki was appointed to the finance docket and was to become the longest-serving finance minister. He was then moved to Home Affairs Ministry in 1982. Kibaki was appointed the fourth Vice President of the Republic of Kenya in 1978 by President Moi. And after serving for over 10 years as Vice President, where he was relegated to a mere minister to head the Health Ministry in 1988, soon after he decided to part ways with his boss, President Moi. That was way back some 10 years ago in 1991. At the advent of multi-party politics, Moi, when he resigned as minister on Christmas Day in 1991, he founded the Democratic Party, the DP. The party unfortunately performed dismally by becoming the fourth in the 1992 general elections. And come 1997, Kibaki was in the presidential race again, this time without the Matiba factor in Central Province. And with the absence of Matiba, Kibaki became the second by scooping 1.9 million votes after Moi's 2.5 million. This earned him an automatic official opposition leader, a seat in the 8th Parliament, in which he was to stay until Parliament was dissolved on October the 25th this year. Mwai Kibaki, with his experience in losing 2 presidential races, saw the need for a united opposition front to face KANU's choice, Uhuru Kenyatta. And after uniting with 3 other candidates who lost the 1997 presidential contest, Raila Odinga, Kijana Wamalo and Charity Ngilu, Kibaki became a top presidential contender. Raila joined him after a stint in the ruling party KANU that saw him humiliated after President Moi anointed Uhuru Kenyatta his preferred successor. Raila, alongside 3 other presidential hopefuls in KANU, Alonzo Musyoka, George Saitoti, Salia Mudavadi, quit in a half. But among them, Mudavadi beat a hasty retreat back to Uhuru, and where he later was appointed the vice chairman of KANU and also the vice president of Kenya. Kibaki then formed, Raila Odinga formed the Liberal Democratic Party, where they joined a coalition with the Kibaki led team. This then led to a grand coalition in the name of National Rainbow Coalition. And for once, the ruling party became a shell, a pale image of its former self. It was here, at this particular venue, that the coalition NAG was born, and they decided this time round we are going to put not only our hands together but also our heads together so that we can be able to champion and fight this election as valiantly as we can. You can see there is merriment, dance and music. People, the whole atmosphere here is one of merriment. People are very peaceful, very happy, celebrating really Of course, there are people who are getting in the way of where the installation days is. That's why you can see the police on the horseback trying to clear that area. But so far, there have been no incidents. I would imagine the peace and calm that has so far prevailed during the electioneering period and the election itself is most likely going to carry on. The weather is very attractive. There is some a fairly hot sun, and the thousands and thousands of pressmen are here from overseas and also from locally. The ones from overseas, they want to attest to the fact that yes, Kenya, we can also be able to do it and also make an example to other countries on the continent of Africa. The dawn of a new era. The will of the people prevails. We are now witnessing the guard of honor marching into position. The guard of honor is mounted by the 3 arms of the army. It is the in-service guard of honor by the Kenya Armed Forces with all the 3 service colors from the Kenya Army, Kenya Air Force and Kenya Navy. They are under 3 guards from the 3 services. The parade commander is Lieutenant Colonel Kivunzi with the director of music of the Armed Forces Band, Lieutenant Colonel Tipatet. We are witnessing today the first time in Kenya that an incumbent president will be officially handing over power to his successor. The National Rainbow Coalition leader, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, is this morning, Monday the 30th of December 2002, on the eve of a new year, set to become Kenya's 3rd president following his party's landslide victory. However, before entering upon the office of president, the leader of the National Rainbow Coalition, the Honorable Mwai Kibaki, is required to take the oath of allegiance and such other oaths under the Promissory Oaths Act before the Chief Justice for the due execution of the office of the president. Hence, the inauguration today of Kenya's 3rd president in a grand parade marking the transfer of power from President Moi to the historic transitional elections of Friday, the 27th of December. Witnessing now the state installation under the guard here of honor. Shortly, we will have the president-elect arriving, and the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Kenya also will be arriving. This is the state installation of the 3rd President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Kenya here at Uhuru Park. That is Kaguta Yoweri Museveni arriving there.
His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda.
As the first of our state guests to arrive. Buddy.
Louis Yoweri Museveni alikuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Uganda tarehe Januari 29 mwaka 1986 baada ya kuongoza harakati za ukombozi.
The playing of the national anthem any minute now after he greets the people. With him is the Commander of the General Staff, Major General Joseph Kibwana.
Tafadhali tutulie.
there, the Tanzanian President, Benjamin William Mkapa, the second president. Incidentally, you're getting this live transmission from the leading broadcaster KBC. That is the only station that has the capacity to bring to your screens live the goings-on of the state installation. Any moment now, the playing of the Tanzanian national anthem. First of all, a greeting to Wananchi Umma. Mbeki, the wife of the South African President Thabo Mbeki, who is representing South Africa, sitting there next to President Yoweri Museveni. We are not able to see the galaxy, as it were, of the heads of state and also the leading personalities because of the people that are gathered here. Let's go back again. You can see the people all anywhere, even on the buildings, anywhere that people can be able to get any bit of space, they are there to join into the celebration, the pomp, the fanfare, the ceremony that is going on here at Uhuru Park.
Anaingia hapa rais wa Zambia, Levi Mwanawasa, anakaribishwa hapa na mkuu wa majeshi, na ni wimbo wa taifa wa nchi jirani ya Zambia. Anawasalimia wananchi, ni Rainbow wanamjibu.
Basi national anthem, tutulia wimbo wa taifa ya Zambia.
Kibaki is just about to arrive, as we can see from the signs there of making way, making room, so that he's being led by police escort there, presidential escort. And as we say, it is a very, very hectic, tense moment. People moving here and there, trying to get things in order. He is here now. Kibaki has arrived at the long last at a few minutes to 2 o'clock, 25, 24 to 2 o'clock. So he's arrived, and the presidential escort there just passing, and shortly he will be with us for this very historic occasion.
Nderemo, hoi hoi, yote yawezekana hapa, wanaimba Rainbow. Vidole viwili, alama hiyo inamkaribisha rais mteule Mwai Kibaki, ambaye anawasili hapa uwanja huu wa Uhuru Park kwa siku hii ya kihistoria, licha kwamba kuna msongamano mkubwa wa watu. Kila mmoja anajaribu kutazama yuko vipi, yuko na kiti cha gurudumu kile ambacho kinaweza kumsaidia ili aweze kufika mahala hapa. Waandishi wa habari kutoka ulimwengu mzima nao wamejazana hapa, wamesongamana vile vile nao waweze kupata picha ambazo zitaonyeshwa katika nchi nyingine. Sisi hapa tuko moja kwa moja KBC, kituo chako cha kitaifa chenye mwelekeo wa kitaifa.
There, the president-elect being escorted on a wheelchair, moving on to the installation days. People up, excited, waiting for the moment that is going to be sworn in by the Chief Justice. The arrival now of the outgoing president, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. He brings in the rear, according to the protocol here now, so that we get on to the next. Fred Gomo, MP for Westlands.
Karibu. Tena. Rais Moi.
His Excellency President Daniel Arap Moi, there he is, arriving now, ready to take the national salute. Everybody up now on their toes, taking a peek at their outgoing president, Daniel Arap Moi.
May we start to pray now? Ewe Rais mteule Mheshimiwa Mwai Kibaki, tunakuombea maisha mema na afya, uweze kuiongoza nchi yetu ya Kenya kwa amani na utulivu. Ewe Mola, wape wananchi wa Kenya wote amani, mapenzi, utulivu wa kudumu, subira na umoja. Pia wape mawaziri wateule watakaoteuliwa uaminifu, utiifu na subira. Tuwe na serikali ya amani, umoja na haki. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. آمين. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Tuendelee na maombi. Mwenyezi Mungu Baba wetu wa mbinguni, tunakuja kwako katika jina la Yesu Kristo, tukiwa na sifa na shukurani kwa sababu wewe ni Mungu peke yake, hakuna Mungu kama wewe. Tunakuuluku, tunakusifu, tunakuhimidi hata kwa ajili ya kutupatia siku hii ya leo. Tunakukaribisha katika sherehe zetu za leo Mungu wetu. Tunapoanza tuanze na wewe, tuendelee na wewe na tumalize tukiwa ndani yako. Mambo yote yawe kwa ajili ya sifa yako. Tunamuombea rais mpya ambao umetuletea, Baba wa rehema, tukimweka mkononi mwako. Mlinde, muhifadhi na umbarikie na baraka zote za kibinguni. Umsaidie katika fadhili zote, Baba wa rehema, uweze kuendesha nchi hii kwa njia nzuri. Bariki ministers watakaochaguliwa. Ukibariki utawala wote. Bariki nchi yetu na ubariki watu wake. Tunakushukuru na kukusifu kwa sababu umetusikia. Na ni katika jina la Yesu Kristo tunaomba na kuamini. Amen.
Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, you have revealed your glory to all nations. God of power and might, wisdom and justice, through your authority, assist with your spirit of counsel and fortitude the President of Kenya, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, that his administration may be conducted in righteousness and be eminently useful to your people over whom he presides. May he encourage due respect for virtue and religion. May he execute the laws with justice and mercy. May he seek to restrain crime, vice, and immorality. Let the light of your divine wisdom direct the deliberation of Parliament and shine forth in all the proceedings and laws framed for our rule and government. May they seek to persevere in peace, promote national happiness, and continue to bring us the blessing of liberty and equality. We pray for the members of the legislature, for judges, elected civil officials, and all others who are entrusted to guard our political welfare. May they be enabled by your powerful protection to discharge their duties with honesty and ability. We likewise command and commend to your unbounded mercy all citizens of Kenya, that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your holy law. May we be preserved in union and that peace which the world cannot give, and after enjoying the blessing of this life, be admitted to those which are eternal. We pray to you, who are Lord and God forever and ever. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I now invite the chairman of the Electoral Commission of Kenya, Mr. Samuel Kivuitu, to hand over the certificate of election to our President-elect, Honorable Mwai Kibaki. Mr. Samuel Kivuitu.
Mwenyekiti wa tume ya uchaguzi anaitwa hapa kutoa rasmi kwamba Mwai Kibaki
Honorable Mwai Kibaki has now got the certificate.
Tayari ameshapewa hati yake hapo kwamba ni shughuli iliyobaki ni kuapishwa. Kivuitu ashamkabidhi Mwai Kibaki.
And I would like to request all of you to be calm when the gun salute is fired. It is now my pleasure to invite the Chief Justice, Honorable Bernard Chunga, to conduct the swearing-in ceremony. Bernard Chunga.
Sasa ndio ile shughuli yenyewe imefika. Baada ya kusubiri na kusubiri, imekuwa sasa ile haiwi sasa imefika ile siku ya kihistoria. Jaji mkuu anatayarisha mipangilio hapo, ndio inaanza rasmi.
Unaweka hapo. Unaweka wapi? Weka kando au utaweka hapa mbele? Weke hapa mbele ili asante sana. Haya. Tuendelee. Mimi Mwai Kibaki naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote, na kwamba nitahifadhi, nitailinda na kuitetea katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, nisaidie.
Nitahifadhi Earlier on, we had memories from the archives and the common phrase as political leaders continue to eulogize the late Kenyans on social media platforms. The common phrase I've come across is the late was the best leader the country has ever had. I now hand you over to my colleague Safin Acheng Ouma for more engagement. This as the country is in mourning following the passing on of the only surviving former president. Good afternoon.
Much, Irene Muchuma Odim, for a wonderful job you've done there, just taking our viewers through this dark moment for the country. It is indeed a dark Friday, a Black Friday for the country, as we are